As an example, a science of performance is don't speak in the same note the whole time at the same rate. You want to have vocal variation. So that's part of the science of performance is you talk the same way the whole time. You can't do that for an hour. You got to talk fast, talk slow, talk high, talk low. Welcome to Inside the Audition, the podcast where we go behind the scenes for a deep dive look into the world of auditions. I'm Joe Lars Larson, creator of Actors Audition Club, an international community helping actors book your dream roles in TV, film, and theater.
And I'm Brandon Knox, actor, producer, and co-host. Each episode, we chat with actors and industry professionals to share their audition experiences, insights, and advice.
We provide actors with actionable tips, strategies, and resources to help you elevate your auditions.
We demystify the often intimidating and misunderstood world of auditions to help you succeed.
So whether you're just starting out on your acting journey or you're a seasoned pro, join our Actors Audition Club members as we go
Inside the Audition.
Well, hello and welcome to episode 147.
Yeah.
I'm Joe Larson. That is Brandon Knox, aka the BK Broiler. We're here on Wednesday, July 5th. Welcome. We got a great episode today. This is a continuation of last week's episode to help promote and share the love about our upcoming Tom Todoroff Master class that is available to all of you. And last week, if you were with us, you heard us talking about the guideposts. Brandon and I covered guideposts 1 through 5. Today, we're going to talk about guideposts 6 through 10. We're going to share all the info about how you can get registered for that master class. And a little birdie told me we got a special guest going to be popping into the studio here. So should we? Oh, first, actually, yes. Those of you watching on Facebook and YouTube right now, a couple things. Make sure to let us know in the comments what city you are watching in. Say hello in the comments. Everyone who says hello, and maybe we'll give you a keyword. Let's give you a special keyword. We're going to do a contest at the end of the episode. We're going to do a little giveaway. But why don't you comment with the hashtag masterclass? So comment hashtag masterclass to be entered into the draw. By the end of the episode, we're going to do a random draw. Everyone who has commented hashtag masterclass will be entered into that random draw at the end of the show. That's how we do it, right? We got to tell them to do a hashtag. They got to hashtag it.
Yep.
Sweet.
Hashtag masterclass.
Hashtag masterclass. And make sure to hit that share button. Share this out to your Facebook friends, your YouTube friends. And share this out here, and we can let's blow this episode up. It's a great one. All right. Anything else off the top? Housekeeping?
No, I think let's get into it.
All right. Happy belated Canada Day and belated Independence Day to our American friends. We all had great long weekends, but let's get into it. So Tom Todoroff, Brandon studies with him in his weekly Zoom class. He's also headed to the week-long intensive in New York City. I've been a member of the Zoom weekly class. I've done the week-long intensive in New York City, and I've done the year-long conservatory, and I'm a graduate of the Tom Todoroff Conservatory with an acting diploma. And Tom has been gracious enough to put on a free masterclass with us. That's happening next Wednesday, July 12th from 7 to 9 p.m. We'll drop a link in there. So the link is in the comments. You can register. That is absolutely free. Tom only does those with us a couple times a year, maybe 2-3 times a year. So it's a huge opportunity for you to work with a master producer, director, and performance coach. Tom's worked with A-listers in Hollywood. His background as an actor is in TV, film, and theater. He's trained at Juilliard. He's worked with some of the best, and he's an incredible coach, incredible director. And you can see him in action. You can observe, or you can also sign up to be a performer, where you can perform a monologue and work directly with Tom. That is no charge. So it's a massive opportunity there. So grab that link. We put it in the comments. You can also, if you go to Actors Audition Club on Instagram, there's a link in our bio to get registered as well. If you're not watching the live broadcast right now, maybe you're listening to this later. But it's Wednesday, July 12th. That's 1 week from today, if you're listening to us currently now in the present moment, and from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern time. So grab spots. Spaces are limited. There is no replay on that, so you got to be there live to register. But the opportunity is there, so the link is there. And one of the things that Tom coaches on, he worked with longtime casting director Michael Shirtliff, who is the author of the book Audition. And in this book, Audition, Michael Shirtliff put together 12 guideposts. And Tom, through his work with him, has also developed 3 more. So Tom's technique and framework has 15 guideposts. Last week, we talked about guideposts 1 through 5. So you can go back and listen to episode 146 if you want to get caught up. Maybe we'll give them a quick catch up. Guidepost number 1 is
relationship.
Yes. Guidepost number 2 is conflict. What are you fighting for? How are you meddling? Guidepost number 3 is, Brandon?
The moment before.
The moment before. Guidepost number 4, everyone's favorite, or a lot of people's favorite, is humor. And number 5 is opposite. So we're going to pick up our talk today, giving you a little reminder on guidepost 6, which is
discoveries.
Discoveries. All right. You want to explain to people what discoveries means, Brandon?
Have you ever been like, hey, who was that guy in that movie once? And then you went on to Google and typed in the little Google machine and were like, oh, it was that guy the whole time.
Right.
I just made a discovery.
Right. So it's what is new and what is changing in the scene. Yeah. What are you hearing for the first time? What are you seeing for the first time? Who are you discovering? What are you discovering? And then how does that change you? And how does that change the scene moving forward? Really important. People forget about this. Tom often reminds us with the phrase, remember to forget. We rehearse and rehearse and rehearse and rehearse and rehearse. And then you can, as an actor in the scene, you can be given this new information that you're being given for the first time. You're hearing this for the first time or seeing it for the first time. And if you don't react like this is a discovery in that moment, it will seem rehearsed and it will seem prepared and it just won't seem real. So that could be new information from a scene partner, something that you stumble across, something that you actually like physically find or physically see, or it can just be like we do in real life as you're thinking for something like Brandon just said, you're grasping for the word, or how do I say it exactly? Discoveries. Yes. So it's a way to really liven up your scenes, make them real in the moment, make them believable as a real thing that you're experiencing now and not an over-rehearsed situation. Any other thoughts on discoveries?
No. Let's move on.
I think we can chat about it a little bit. I think it's just one of the most important ones in there, and I think it's one of the ones that really brings scenes to life. Mm-hmm. And you can use it multiple times throughout a scene. Often, too, I'll give it an easy example. You're walking into a scene where you're discovering your scene partner. Maybe you're looking for them. You're say it's a workplace scenario, and you're looking for someone in the lunchroom that you have a beef with. You're going to find your boss, and a lot of the times, as an actor, we'll just walk in and the person's just there. Like boom, you're there. But you need to see people first and actually discover them. So you can enter and then, oh, there you are. And find them. So just little things like that. That's an example of a discovery, and just bringing scenes to life with that. I think a lot of the times we take it for granted, mm-hmm. and we don't remember to forget that this has got to be all new and all fresh. And it's super challenging too, especially in a theater setting where you're doing 8 shows a week and you've rehearsed this for several months or several weeks. You can forget that, this has got to be fresh. This is the first time that's ever happened to me. The character hasn't been rehearsing this over and over and over. You have as an actor, but in the moment as the character, you got to be fresh and discover that in the moment. So That's a huge one. I think it's one of my favorites. So easy too. That's such an easy tweak. When we help people with their self-tapes here through Actors Audition Club, we'll say like, actually like discover that, see them, find them. Where are they? Have that moment of, oh, there they are. Or often it's a piece of new information. If you're getting new information in a scene that changes how you feel about the person that you're talking to, or changes your tactics, or changes what you're fighting for, or changes your emotion, your energy, or your mood, you got to make that stuff visible.
Yeah.
So discoveries, great one. Numero 6. No, that was
7.
6. Guidepost number 7 is communication and competition. Do you want to take this one?
You can start.
Well, communication and competition, it's always message sent and message received. So it's the idea of making sure that you're actually communicating. An example is you ask a question in the script, you got to actually ask it with the intention to listen and wait for it, at least for a beat, to see if there's an answer before you say something, which also means you got to be listening as well. And the competition side of things is we're always competing, we're always fighting. There's always something that you're working on with your partner. So it's just the idea of really remembering that most scenes are two ways: message sent, message received. It's back and forth. You need to be being affected by your scene partner, and you need to be affecting them, and constantly communicating and competing with them. And remember that we do that in different ways. We communicate different ways. We communicate verbally, non-verbally. We can communicate with their face, with their body language, with their posture, and we compete. Sometimes we compete on things that are funny. Like, it's like, why are you competing for this? Like, some people will compete to like, who's got it worse? Like, oh man, you should have heard what happened to me yesterday. And then someone's like, oh, you think that's bad? Let me tell you about this. So that's something that real humans do in real life. So where can you inject that communication component into your scene? Where can you inject competition in your scenes? And often that can make it more dynamic, more lively, more in the moment, more real. Anything else you want to say about competition?
Yeah, and you touched on it, and it really comes back to listening. And I think it's one of the hardest things to do is to forget that you're in a scene and just listen to the other person. We're always so focused on the lines, and like, the more we listen, the more we are actively communicating, and like it helps us find what we're fighting for and what we want in the scene. It's one of those guideposts that is incredibly difficult to find because it's always there, if that makes sense. Like, because we're always communicating. Any scene that you have with someone else is a communication. You're communicating with someone else. And there's always active competitions. I love that. I think that's wonderful. If anyone has been in an audition room, like, there's this sense of competition. There's this sense of wonderment and hope that you'll be the one to get it. And we're always fighting for that dream role, right? And like, there's 5 of us going out for it, and one of us is gonna get it. And like, it's there's an active sense of something going on, and it's electric. Right. It really brings the best part out of you, I think.
Right. Yeah. And the way to think of all these guideposts too is like, we're going to go over them, but each one of them really is a series of questions that, as the actor, as the storyteller, you're asking yourself about the scene, and then your answers you end up infusing into the scene, and those answers end up becoming your performance and end up becoming the story. So it's the idea of finding all these possibilities, and a lot of people, a lot of actors, I know I used to really make this. I used to just like see what's on the paper and be like, oh, well, and you just make judgments of it, and then you would be like, oh, this is what it is because this is what's on the paper, rather than what training what Tom really taught me to do is discover and find possibilities, go through all these guideposts, ask all these questions to find more possibilities of more notes to play, more beats to play, more moments to play.
Yeah.
And that's our job, is like to really see yourself as a creator instead of thinking, oh, what do they want? How am I supposed to say this? How do they want me to react to this? How am I supposed to feel it? Take some more power and personal power by saying, what can I add to this? How can I create this scene?
Yeah.
And you do that by asking yourself all these questions about the scene, and then you find your answers, and then you plug those answers into your performance. So for Guidepost 7, for example, the questions are, am I sending and receiving feelings, or am I just talking? How do I feel about what others are saying? How do I respond to what others are saying? Am I being truthful and present in this moment? And then just a reminder of rehearsing slowly so that you can perform swiftly later. So you break this down and go slow during rehearsal, so that then you can get it up to speed later on after you've infused this stuff into it. And really,
I know sorry,
go ahead. I was going to say, I'll go. Then just remembering that you as the character and as the person in that scene, you have a strong need to be heard and to communicate and to affect and change your scene partners, so that you're reminding yourself, why do I need to be here? What do I need from the other person? And if you don't have answers to that, you shouldn't even be there. Why are you on stage? Why are you on camera? If you don't need to get something, you don't need to convey some information. You don't need to convey a change and get people to see things your way. And that's how we are in life too. It's like you go to someone because you need something from them. You want to see it your way. Even if the need is, I want to give you something. That's a way to think of things. Go ahead.
And even when the need isn't overly apparent, or like it's kind of a hidden, or it's a secret thing that you need, and
sometimes it's subtext.
What I was going to say is, like, there's a lot of times in sessions where I bring up, what is fact? Are you just telling someone a fact, and how does that affect the way you're talking? And I think that's so important to communication as well, because as the first question was, what informs it emotionally? What informs the text emotionally? Is that the first question?
I set it aside.
Are you saying are you saying something emotionally, or is it something that's fact? Because those two are completely different. If it's coming from a very emotional place, it's going to be different than if you're just reiterating facts, right?
Right. Yeah. I'll use an example without revealing too much. Brandon, you had a line in an audition that was, I think it was someone squealed, or like basically like someone let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah.
And you could just be like, someone squealed, or you can say that in a way that's accusatory to the person that you're talking to, where you can be like, someone squealed, someone told them what we were doing. And there's a way to say things differently, that it's not just the words. It is the words, but it's also how you say those words and what you put into those words. As an example. So really look at, what are you communicating? Where can you find ways to communicate it a little deeper? Where can you find some subtext that can be communicated in there as well, rather than just taking the words at face value? And like, everybody can say words. If you're a human being, you probably speak, but that's not really the job as the actor. The job as the actor is to be a storyteller and to find things that are a little deeper, and to communicate all the moments and play all the notes in there. And if you're not really looking deeply into communication, you can miss a lot of that stuff. All right. Guidepost 8 is
importance.
You'll often hear this as with certain acting coaches, of the idea of raising the stakes, or Stella Adler said, no film or play ever happens on an ordinary day. It's always something extraordinary. And you can make it ordinary and bland, but I don't know if that's the most exciting thing to watch. And I think Tom had reminded us, like, or maybe Stella Adler reminded people, like, if people just wanted to go see everyday normal people, you would just go and pay money to sit in a coffee shop and people watch, which is nice. But when you look at and think of your favorite performances in TV and film and theater, they're extraordinary performances in the highest of stakes situations. Either there's a ticking clock, or there's some really heavy leverage that makes this important, or it's a massive opportunity. And the highest stakes, the reason that we fucking love murder and murder shows and murder podcasts is because as a human being, life and death is the highest stakes that there is, especially when that life and death is the life and death of a loved one or of a child or a parent or a pet, for example. Like, think about what you would do. How important is something when your life depends on it versus when it's just ho hum, ho drum, like kind of thing. So, and that's a like conflict and relationship. I mean, all the guideposts are important, but this is one where it's an easy direct to be like, you need to care about this more. And that's what we see a lot. It's like, it's not compelling on camera to see someone that is apathetic or cynical or lazy or just like, oh, it doesn't seem. I mean, there's certain comedic things you can do where you're like, oh, I'm the lazy cashier and I'm droning on and I sound very bored. But generally, watching a bored person isn't exciting. So what can you do to raise the stakes, to raise the importance, to really realize what are you fighting for? And it does go hand in hand. Guidepost 2 being conflict. What are you fighting for? How are you meddling? Guidepost 8 is importance. So if you jack up importance, then all of a sudden you got to fight a little harder for it because this is a life and death scenario. Anything else you can say about importance?
It also informs lists. There's a lot of scenes where you'll get a list of something, right, and you're saying, oh, I'm going to the store and I need to get a camera and I need to get lights and I need to get a fan and I need to get a printer. But some of those things are more important to you to get, and some of them are less important for you to get. Like, oh, I'm going to the store, Lars, and I'm going to get a camera. I definitely need a camera, and I need some lights. I need some new lights. And if I can, I'll maybe find a fan or something. Maybe, I'm not sure.
Right.
And if a printer's on sale, I wouldn't mind getting a new printer. And
right,
like, so there's importance. There's degrees to it. Right. And I just think it's wonderful. The more you work with the guideposts, the more you find that they're really interwoven with each other. Like,
of course,
as much as importance is related to conflict, what am I fighting for? How am I meddling? It's also really related to relationship as well, right?
Right.
Because like some relationships are more important to us, even in one given circumstance than the next. And like, how does that affect you? Tom always says, what is your relationship to everything?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, like to think about the difference of like the love of your life, the person that you're like, this is the one. If you're in that scene where you need to convince her to not get on that plane or to get on that plane with you, the difference of this is my one true love of my life, and I got to fight like fuck to get them to see things my way versus, oh, this is someone that I've dated and let's see where it goes, and I don't know. Maybe I like her, maybe I don't. Like it's not as important. There's a great line from Shirtlift's audition book, which we highly recommend you buy. He says, it's important for an actor to realize that what he must use in his acting is the opposite of what he has been trained to in life to seek. In life, peacefulness and the avoidance of trouble won't help you in your acting. I mean, in life, that's great. You want to be peaceful, you want to be calm, you want to be cool and collected and unflappable. But in acting, you want to seek the opposite. So you want to be seeking danger and seeking importance and seeking situations that do really strongly activate you, either make you fight more or make you angry or make you sad or whatever it is, but just raising the stakes to be like, this really fucking affects me. Versus in life, maybe you want to get to that Zen state where nothing really affects you. But that's boring on camera unless your role is to be a Buddhist monk and just sit there deadpan. then you want to see people, you want people to see how affected you are and how you can affect other people. Yeah, I love that one. Important. So just easy thing is just make this more important. Care more is kind of the thing. Care more. Like, and even if it's things that seem silly, like the lasagna that you're making, make that or that you're tasting at a restaurant, make that lasagna the best fucking lasagna that you've ever tasted in your life.
Yeah.
Versus, oh, this is good lasagna. Unless there's a comedic reason that you got to be playing it laissez-faire and bored like that. That's different. But generally, like really love stuff, really hate stuff, make things polarizing, and make them important. And instantly that'll transform how you feel as a human being in the moment as the actor and as the character, and then that will translate to the audience too, because they're like imagine, and here's a good example too, and it kind of leads back to communication and competition. Imagine you watch the tennis match where neither of them cared about the outcome.
Yeah.
What kind of rally is that going to be? There's not going to be a rally. It's going to be the guy serves and then the ball hits the back of the court and the guy doesn't even move for it. And then the other guy serves and the other guy doesn't move. And you're like, why the hell did I pay to come watch two people that don't give a shit about what they're fighting for? So it's like, but you take those two people and both of them are broke. Both of them, both of their families are in financial trouble. And this is for the championships of the world, and there's a $10 million prize attached to it. Then how are those two people going to fight and communicate and play that game? And then how are you as the audience member going to watch that? You're going to be on the edge of your seat. Like, holy shit, these guys are leaving it all out on the table. They're fighting for this because it's important. Guidepost number 9.
Find the events.
Ooh, find the events. So what does that mean? What's an event?
An event is when it's either an emotional change or a relationship change. It's either something within you or within the given circumstances in the scene. Right. It's also something that will affect, like, how are you meddling? Like, if a tactic didn't work, then you have to pivot, right? You have to try, you have to go for a new tactic. You have to make something work, right? It adds importance to the scene. What I like to think of, if you went to a traditional conservatory program, it's like Stanislavski's beats.
Yes,
it's splitting the scene up into beats, splitting the scene up into bits, and it's great for markers in the scene, and like it's one guidepost that I've been studying for the past month or so because I've been finding it so fascinating recently.
Right. Yeah. Because it's like it's really it lends to structure of the scene, and it's when do things change, when do things shift. A way to think of it as well is, when is a discovery so important that it becomes an event, and often a discovery is an event. So if it's a scene between a husband and wife, and the wife says, "Hello, husband, just want to let you know I've been cheating on you with our next door neighbor." That's a big discovery for him, but it's also an event in the scene, because nothing is the same after a wife tells their husband, or a partner tells their spouse that they've been unfaithful to them. Everything is blown out of the water. So
trust is gone.
Yeah, look for discoveries, and often discoveries. Now it's different. If it's a little small discovery, maybe that's not an event, but it's where does the scene change? And often if you miss those in an audition, you won't get it, because you missed really what it comes down to sometimes is what is actually happening in the scene. A guy comes home, makes himself a sandwich, and then catches his wife in bed with his next door neighbor. Is the sandwich an event, or is catching his wife in bed with the next door neighbor the event? Probably the event is guy comes home, catches his wife sleeping with his neighbor. Then what happens? Then he grabs a gun. Then he kills himself. Then he fights for her because he really loves her. Like what changes from that point? But it's look for in a scene where is a moment or an event, where's an event in the scene happening that changes things forever for one or both of the characters. And if you miss those, if you miss those, you at the end of it, you're like, what was that scene even about? What
Mhm.
was like, you'd be like, if you're ever feeling like nothing's happening in this scene, sometimes it's because you've glossed over an event and you haven't allowed some new information to actually affect you. And you got to be like, whoa, 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 listen to what your scene partner just actually said to you. And then how do you load that up so that that really affects you in a way that now you're a different human being in that moment than you were 5 seconds ago before you knew that information.
Yeah.
Yeah. Find the events. And number 10 is
Place.
Where is the scene taking place?
Yeah.
And this can affect you a lot. It's like, are you in a place that you're really comfortable? Are you in the home that you grew up in, your homestead, and you've been there with your family and friends for 30 years? Or are you in a brand new foreign country where everything is weird and foreign and unfamiliar to you? Everyone's speaking another language. Or it could be the dynamics of how you're talking. Are you outside in a loud street or on a subway platform where there's noise? Or are you in a movie theater where you got to be whispering? So often it's the place can inform your mood and your feeling and how you're actually acting, but it can also affect your vocal dynamics or even your physical viewpoints and how you're carrying yourself. Like if I'm outside in the wintertime, I might be kind of standing like this, but if I'm in a tropical paradise, then I'm not shivering and holding myself. So just really paying attention to where is the scene taking place and how does that affect you? And also, how does that affect the dynamic between your scene partner? If you're in their house or their office, you're in your boss's office, you're going to be speaking and acting differently than if you were in your favorite sports bar where you normally hang out with all your buddies after work. And all of us human beings, we all kind of play different characters based on those different situations. You're different at work and you're different at home and you're different at your buddies and you're different with strangers and you're different at a restaurant. So letting place inform how the scene may change. And also, if in a scene the place changes, that might be an event as well, where all of a sudden you're in a new place. You're in a car and then you arrive at your destination and your destination's on fire. All of a sudden that's going to inform how the scene's being played, and that might be an event. So anything else place wise?
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, just asking yourself that. I think a lot of times we gloss over that and you just miss something and you miss a little thing, and then you wonder, like, why didn't I get the job? Well, maybe it's because casting and production watched the tape and someone was playing the place and everyone else was oblivious to that and didn't really play it like that.
I will add one thing.
Yes.
And I'm not. This could combine into events and place, but understanding story structure, I think, is incredibly important to auditions nowadays, especially when you're getting sides and you're seeing the page number. Make sure you're looking up the time frame of how long the show is, because then it really does inform where you are in the show,
right,
so that you can find the best way to enhance your scene and make informed, important choices based on what page number you're at. Because if you're on page 1, you're just starting out. You're opening the episode. But if you're on page 15, things have already happened and you're about halfway through if it's a half-hour show. Or if it's an hour-long show, things are starting to happen. The first act is probably coming to an end at that point. So something important is about to happen in the scene, and maybe you need to ramp up some importance and find some more events to inform those choices. Or if it's like 45 minutes in, you're about to wrap up. You've just finished the climax of the show or the episode, and now you're about to wrap up. And so things are winding down a little bit, right? And like, the more you know about story structure and the place you're in the story, the better you are.
Right, which will come in Guidepost 15, architecture, a little tease for tomorrow. I'll just share one more thing with place, and then again, this is from Shirtlift's book, which a lot of Tom's training is based upon. And what they remind us, or what Michael says, the physical nature of a place is only the beginning. The most important element is how you feel about the place. And Tom will remind us, how do you feel about everything? Yes. And Michael gives the example, take your own apartment. When you first look at it, you're uncertain. Should you rent this place? Should you not? Will you like it? Will you not like it? Should you or should you not? But can you afford it? Can you not afford it? But then you settle in, you fix it up, you make it suitable for you, and then you like it a lot. But then you meet someone, and all of a sudden your lover is also at that place, and then you love the place even more. But then you break up with that person. You have a nasty breakup in that place. Then maybe you hate that place, and even seeing it brings up terrible feelings. And this used to be a place that you really loved, and now you fucking hate it. So, but it's the same place. So what's different? It's how you feel about that place. So just remembering, where am I? What is the place? And how do I feel about being here? And you often think of a horror movie. At the beginning of a horror movie, when they walk into this horrible, weird, dark, dank, abandoned home, they're not walking in like they're walking into a Starbucks. They're walking in uncertain. They're moving slow. You're hearing something, and what's over there? What's over there? Mm-hmm. Your physicality and how you're talking, you're probably whispering or using a stage whisper, versus how you might walk into a party at a house where you're there every week for that party. It's totally different. So we're going to end
something change. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Or if something changes, so that way your relationship to that place has now changed. If something, the place was very comfortable to you, and then something happened, and then now it's not very comfortable at all, those inform emotional and relationship choices as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So that was Guideposts 6 through 10. Stay tuned next week. We're going to talk about Guideposts 11 through 15. But we also have a guest right now. We're going to bring a guest into the studio. Please welcome one of our session directors at Actors Audition Club, and also a graduate of Tom Todoroff's conservatory program, Moneen Daly. Moni.
Hello.
Hey.
In honor of Tom, I'm going to say Happy Wednesday. Yeah. So, I heard you guys talking about place, and I was going to be in another place to give you a really picturesque, natural background. And my Wi-Fi just didn't work where I was previously. So you got me indoors.
In a new place.
Yeah, in a new place. And all thanks to our education, our mindset, our really evolution and revolution from just a little over a year ago, really.
Yes. Yeah, and we wanted to bring you on, Moneen, because Moneen is also a graduate of the conservatory program. So she has tons of experience being coached and trained by Tom. And we're co-hosting this masterclass. We're inviting Actors Audition Club members and clients. And Moneen also runs a community called Mo Vibes, where you're going to be inviting your people as well. So we just wanted to bring you on. I guess the question is, for someone who has never had any experience with Tom's coaching and directing, why should they show up to that masterclass?
Because instantly you will have a connection with his intention, with his relationship. Guidepost number 1 that you gentlemen, I'm sure, were very specifically talking about. As soon as you hear Tom speak, you will know that he has mastered relationship to his mind, his spirit, his soul, his craft, his environment, his community. And we benefit from that. It's like the rain falling from the sky. It's going to nourish and it's going to hydrate everything it touches from the top on the way down. And so, and thank you for mentioning Movibe. It's Movibe Productions. And you'll have a chance. It'll be Laughing Vikings, Movibe Productions, or other when you sign up. It's fine. Whatever you click, just click something and join us. But you'll know instantly, and you'll want to know more, because that's exactly what happened with you, Lars, and with myself. I was thinking today, and yeah, I was lounging by the pool, and on the 12th, I'll be fully dressed and not wearing a bathing suit. But I was thinking today, my very first interaction with Tom, and how I knew that he was going to be a lifelong mentor. You had a similar situation, I believe, as well, Lars, somewhat prophetic in many ways for both of us. And it started off him saying, this will help you be a better mother. And my children were young grade school kids at the time. And now I have a 21-year-old son and an 18-year-old daughter. And that job isn't done, but I can look back and say, yeah, when I first came to this discipline, this way of thinking and performing, I'm talking about the mindset first, the actual techniques and craft is almost it's like almost a bonus. You might come in looking and needing one thing, and you will just expand exponentially. And that has been our experience. It's been my experience over 15 years with him.
Yeah, you'll come looking for what you want, but you'll leave with what you need.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah. My first, I've shared this before, but I think it was back 2014-15. I attended a weekend intensive here in Toronto. I was too scared to sign up as a performer. And I also didn't want to invest the money at that time. I was a little risk averse to investing in myself. So I signed up as an observer, and my first note, like one of the first things out of his mouth after the first person performed was, "Funny is money and charming is disarming." And I was coming from a stand-up and sketch comedy background. So I was like, oh, this guy's speaking my language. If he thinks humor and being funny is important, then sign me up for more of these. So I registered. I think I ended up doing 2 or 3 of his weekend intensives here in Toronto. Then during pandemic, signed up for the weekly workshop on Saturdays. Then did the week-long intensive in New York City. And then after that week-long intensive, enrolled in the 8th-month conservatory last year, which is how I met you, Monine. So yeah, it's a transformative opportunity. And Tom often reminds us that to be an actor is to be a professional human being. So the training that you receive through Tom's studio, also the vast majority of it are things that will inform your just life as a human as well. So it's not necessarily separate coaching and training. Obviously, we're there for the purpose of being a better TV, film, and theater actor, but you'll learn a ton of things that you're just walking around in your regular life, and you're like, oh, yeah, that's totally this.
Wow.
It will help you. Yeah.
Exactly. Something you brought up, Lars, if I may, you were talking about expense. And I think that's another reason you and Brandon, because you both take advantage of, and as we have with hybrid situations, it used to be to go get a double dose of double T, you'd have to spend some money. I mean, I went to Montreal, I went to New York, not an inexpensive thing, even if you're bunking up with somebody, it was a pilgrimage to go, and you really valued every second. And to have that same kind of, he changes the molecules in the room. He reminds us to change the molecules in the room. That's our responsibility. But as you well know, he does too. And it happens with this dynamic. You can be intimate. He will cut through your filters. He will cut through your psychological blocks, and you'll really, really be you, and in a safe way. And I think that's just like kind of a mind-blowing thing that we can offer this, because we're working virtually so much that to get it virtually.
The work with him too is his all of his classes, like it is deep work and it can be profound, but it's always in the spirit of fun and in the spirit of play. So it never gets so intense that you're like, I mean, certain people have taken different classes or different workshops where you're like, am I in like a military boot camp where the point is to have everyone crying and feeling terrible first? Like, not that tears aren't occasionally shed, but all in the spirit of fun and play and growth, and not, oh, here I'm here to break you down and make you feel like a worm. No, that's not the style at all. It's no. Very supportive and very positive and very fun. So you guys will love it. So make sure to register. We've got the link in the episode description. We got it in the comments for those of you watching live right now. Monique, do you have a favorite guidepost?
Well, I think it's the first one because it's most important. It's relationship to everything. What happens is when we expand and tolerate more of the relationship that we have with ourselves, it allows us the opportunity to become better craftspeople, better collaborators, and that's all relationship. We can't say it enough. And really, if you're looking to tweak something in whatever kind of performance you're doing, if you just ask yourself that question, am I relating honestly to myself first and foremost, and my environment? And then you can work on the relationship with your scene partner, or if it's an unseen situation like voiceover or remote dialogue recording, you can fill in those blanks. But it's all about relationship. I think that's my fave. Yeah. Although I will say when it comes to callbacks, okay, if there's like a competition type of situation going on, I rely on number 13, Mischief.
Nice. Good one. Yes.
Yeah, I like Mischief.
Who, you?
How about you, Lars? What would you say your fave is?
Mischief's a big favorite of mine. I think I shared recently that I think 5 opposites is my favorite, because I feel that applies to the most. It's a truth in life with shadow versus light, and feminine versus masculine, and good versus evil, and up versus down. Like everything is on a spectrum of left and right, up and down, dark and shadow, or shadow and light. So that's my favorite. And I think opposites also, you can apply opposites to all of the other guideposts too.
That's true.
But I love them all. It's hard to say. It's like they're all your, when you study long enough with Tom, they become all your babies, and you're like, oh, but I love that one. Yeah.
I mean, it's within reach. It's always within reach.
As a comedian, game playing and role playing is great, where you get to play the little voices, or you put on a little voice, play a little game, that kind of thing. Like, it's too many. Right. And for those of you watching and listening too, is Tom's coaching doesn't necessarily just apply to acting performances. Yeah, you can apply it to a monologue and to a scene, but public speakers he's worked with, and corporate speakers. People athletes who work on their confidence. He's worked with athletes. He's worked with singers and musical performers as well too. So all of those the guideposts, and really what Tom works with is the physics and science of performance. There's the art and the science to it, but there's definitely a science to it as well. As an example, a science of performance is don't speak in the same note the whole time at the same rate. You want to have vocal variation. So that's part of the science of performance. Is you talk the same way the whole time. You can't do that for an hour. You got to talk fast, talk slow, talk high, talk low. Right.
And the universals, the bigger picture. So when it comes to the dynamics of a voice, like vocal variation, if you're working smart, if you're preparing and performing smart, all of those things are taken care of before it even comes to those decisions. So they're naturally coming out of you. And this is comfortable conversation for me to have right now, but a couple years ago, year and a half ago, I I don't know. It's very hard for an Irish person to give ourselves credit for anything at all. But I can absolutely, there's beliefs, there's opinions, and there's convictions. I have a conviction that that this methodology can change absolutely anyone by changing one thing. Because when you do change that one thing, and we all, maybe it's something simple like voice work every day. I'm a voiceover artist, voiceover coach, have been on the radio, have done voice intensive work since I was 19 years old. And I'm 57 years young. But I didn't have an actual daily routine for my resonators and for my articulators until the conservatory. And, you know, maybe that's a little bit embarrassing to admit, but I'm going to admit it right now, because the other side of the scale is when you do treat yourself as an artist, as Tom would say, the world observes. And we have more of a trusting relationship with ourselves and with our work. That's it. That's it.
Love
I'm
it.
like a giddy little pumpkin today, I have to say. Yeah.
Great. Well,
Okay.
everyone listening, watching, make sure to register for the masterclass. It is free. It is live only. There's no replay, so you have to show up. You can observe, or you can jump fully into the pool and sign up to be a performer, and you bring a 1 to 2 minute monologue of your choice. Or if you don't have a monologue, when you register, I think there's a link to a resource list to find some monologues, or reach out to us here at Actors Audition Club and we can help you with that. Amazing. We will let you go, Monine. You probably think you got to get back to the pool, probably.
Yeah, I've got a lot of very serious papers and paperwork and folders and
Back to the office. Yes.
Really, really intense things. I appreciate it, guys. No, thank you for having me on and letting me expound. I love you both dearly, and I'll look forward to seeing you on the 12th for sure.
We'll see you next week.
Just the best. And talk about funny as money and charming is disarming. You guys could have like a little road show. You know, funny and charming. I'm funny and I make money. I'm charming and I'm disarming, because the two of you epitomize both of those things. I really.
All right. Well, I think we just found our publicist, Brandon.
There you go. Yeah.
I know. You know, I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
All right.
Have a beautiful day.
You too, Monine.
See you, Monine.
Bye.
Amazing. All right. We want to start wrapping things up here. We're going to share some Comedy Alley lineups. We got Comedy Alley coming this weekend. We got posters. Where are they at?
They're invisible.
Ooh, invisible posters. All right. This Friday, July 7th at 8.
Sorry, that was really smooth. Just
That
the
was
way
good.
we both moved.
Yeah. All right.
Sorry.
This Friday, July 7th. I'll start again.
Yeah.
This Friday, July 7th at 8 p.m. in Comedy Alley, you can see Cliff Knight, Darren Frost, Ernie Vicente, and myself. Go to laughingvikings.com/Comedy Alley to buy tickets. They're $25 and they are limited. So grab those before we sell out. And on Saturday, July 8th at 8 p.m., we We've got Mac Sheldrick, Sashka DC, and Monty Scott. Marco says, hell of a lineup. You're right, Marco. Every week there's a hell of a lineup. We've got pro comedians every Friday, Saturday. So grab your friends, grab your family members, come join us for an intimate night of fun in our outdoor venue. It's a unique situation out there. People love it. So grab those tickets. Another great show this weekend. And I think, you know what, I'll tell people you can use promo code July for $5 off tickets. If you use promo code July, that will give you $5 off tickets. So we'll see you in the alley. I wanted to finish on something here. I'm going to share something. My older brother, I'm a baby. I'm the baby of 3 brothers. My oldest brother, Chris, is a musician in New York City. And my middle brother, James, was a musician in New York. Sadly passed away at the very young age of 33. but his story and his passing while he was in the prime of his life and prime of his dream life in New York City was a big motivator to me. So a couple years ago, I shared his story on a live broadcast. In honor of his birthday, which was July 3rd, James would have turned 53. And in honor of his birthday, I just wanted to share this clip from a few years ago to introduce you to my brother and to let you know how his life and his death inspired me to get into this dream life that I'm now living, being an actor and being a comedian and working in TV, film, theater, stand-up, and getting to get up every day and do things that I love. So happy belated birthday to James. And we will share this. Is it shared up there, or you'll share that and I'll hit play? All right. Enjoy this, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
I want to share one more story relating to my origin story. I'm one of three sons. I'm the baby in my family. My oldest brother is a musician and artist in New York City. And my middle brother, he was a drummer and he was a producer and he was an agent. He was in bands in New York City. We're dual citizens. I was raised and grew up in New York. My two other brothers I was raised and grew up in Toronto. My two other brothers were more so raised in New York and spent a lot of time there. My middle brother, James, he was in several bands. He was drumming in several bands, creating his own music, writing his own music. And while he was a musician, obviously a musician, much like actors, can be a rough go. Financially, at least in the beginning. So his day job, he became a music agent. He actually worked for a booking agency in New York City. Originally, he was with an agency called ABC, and then he got a job with ICM, which I think now is amalgamated to be a bigger agency. But ICM, one of the largest agencies in the world, represented, at the time when he was with them, they were representing Alicia Keys and all kinds of other top like A-list names. And it was his job when he wasn't booking and producing his own music gigs in New York City with his own bands. He was helping book these other super gigs for other people, living his dream. So my brother was 33 years old in New York, literally living his dream. At the time, I was living in Alaska and I was running a life insurance office. I'm going to repeat that. In 2003, I was living in Anchorage, Alaska. I was a sales manager with a life insurance company. And it was a great company, great financial opportunities and growth opportunities. In the corporate world, it was great. However, if I asked you, any of you right now, picture a hero, picture your dream life. None of you would guess, oh, dream life, sales manager at a financial services office. Meanwhile, my brother's in New York City, living his fucking dream, doing everything he wants to do, and fighting that fight. And every year he was getting bigger and better gigs and doing better financially. And in when was it? In February of 2003, he was diagnosed with esophageal cancer. He was 33 years old, perfect health, like me, big, athletic, physically fit. I think he socially, maybe occasionally smoked a little bit, drank a little bit, partied a little bit, but nothing crazy, very healthy. He was having heartburn and problems like, what do you call it? Like just gastro problems. And he went to the doctor and they did a scope, like a probe, and they found nodules on his esophagus, right at the bottom of his esophagus, top of his stomach, that were cancerous. And luckily, he was very healthy. It was so rare, like the average patient of an esophageal cancer patient is like a 68-year-old man. So for them to see it in a 33-year-old was very rare. He had the best hospital in New York City, Sloan Kettering in New York City. We had family ties to that hospital. So he instantly was fortunate enough through nepotism to get to the top of the list, seen by the best specialist, and he was prescribed a regimen of radiation and chemo. And he was given what they prescribed him at the time based on what he had, based on his age and his other health, which was pretty clean. He was they were told like 97% of the time, you're going to be okay with this based on who you are, because you're way too young and you're way too healthy, and this is just rare. And then at the end of that, so they did that. Radiation went well, chemo went well, and then the plan was to go in for a day surgery, fairly serious day surgery. They actually would have had to crack open his ribs, and they were going to remove the bottom of his esophagus and the top of his stomach and stitch them together to make sure that none of the cells there, they were like, okay, we think radiation chemo did it, but we're just going to get rid of any of it and just you'll be good. And he would have been fine after that. 3 days before he was going to go into surgery, he went for the typical CAT scans and MRIs. Before you go into surgery, they always do one last look and make sure there's no surprises, make sure that there's nothing that they didn't miss. And they found something weird in his collarbone. And the cancer had spread. So despite this 97% prognosis, despite the fact that he was in perfect health, it had spread to his collarbone. And then they realized it was in his bones, it was in his spinal fluid, it was in his brain. And so at that point, once cancer is metastasized, they rarely do any surgeries. Because then it's like, well, we're not just going to do a surgery here and a surgery there and start taking out all the pieces of your body. It's like, if it's in one spot, we can deal with that. So all of a sudden, he went from being like this close to finishing the treatment. By the way, throughout all this, he was working. He would do chemo, and then he'd have a gig at night. He would have radiation, and then he'd be all day working, booking, because that was what he loved. He was a bull that way. Like, he wouldn't take a break because he was playing his game. And so that was July of 2003. So he was diagnosed in February. July of 2003, we got that word that the prognosis wasn't going to be good. By a month later, August 2003, the doctor said you could last 2 months to 2 years. Right? And he died in December. I was very lucky to be able to be with him in December in New York City, like a fucking hero, like a rock star that he was. I remember it vividly. They did a benefit concert at BB King's. For those of you who know New York, BB King's, unfortunately, based on the pandemic, is closed. But BB King's, famous blues venue right in Times Square, in the thick of it. BB King was often there. Some of the best bands and best performances there. And James was getting very close to potentially being the end. It was in his brain, so the doctor they had him all jacked up on steroids and things to deal with pain and to deal with that. He was in and out of it and not quite himself. But they did a benefit concert for esophageal cancer. I don't know how he did it. He was not feeling that great. We took him in a car in a wheelchair, and he drummed like his fucking life depended on it. And I got to see him in concert at BB King's in a band, surrounded by his family, surrounded by his friends, drumming his fucking life out. He had lost his hair at this point, didn't have eyebrows, cracking jokes like a maniac. Think he might have smoked a cigarette backstage, had a few beers. And I was there. I flew in from Alaska at that time. We didn't know how long he was going to be around. Of course, you're always hoping for the best, and you're refusing to admit that you might not see him again. And a week later, he passed away with my brother next to him. But I've always admired him because of that. And that happened in 2003. I didn't get into stand-up. I got into stand-up and acting and left my corporate world 6 years later. But that was an indelible moment in my life where I witnessed someone who was living their dreams on their own hero journey, doing everything that they wanted to do in their life. And he'd achieved so many amazing things. And then I saw it taken away, everything. Everything was taken away from him. And he didn't really have control over that. And so I clocked that. And it took me a few years to transition from corporate world into acting and performing. But I always realized I was like, I don't ever want to die not having known I took a swing playing the game that I want to play. And in London, Ontario in 2009, I remember it vividly. I went to see 8 Mile and Notorious. That's Eminem's origin story movie and Notorious B.I.G.'s origin story movie. Fucking great movies, great artist movies. I was so inspired by both of those movies, had the seed planted by my brother and his ordeal. And I had the moment where I was like, you know what? I'm either going to do this now and get into this. And at the time it was stand up first. I started with some YouTube videos and then got into stand up. Answered an ad, like a Craigslist ad that said, so you want to be a comedian? And then that led to an amateur night and I never stopped. But I had the idea of, I'm either going to do this now or I'm going to die on my deathbed and be thinking, what would have happened to my life if I had attempted this? Why didn't I attempt this? And I had the idea of like, I don't ever want to be one of those people who dies with regrets. I want to leave it all out on the table. And the lesson from my brother was that play your game. Play your game. Go down fucking swinging if you're going to go down, but play your game. Be in the game that you want to play as often as you can be in it. So if you're a person who's not in the acting world right now, start doing it. If you're a person who is in it, but you're 1 foot in and 1 foot out, and you're still holding on to that day job, get more into the game. And it's okay to strike out and it's okay to die, because that's going to happen to all of us. But don't die without taking a swing. Take 3 big fucking cuts. Maybe you foul a couple off. Maybe you strike out. Maybe you hit a home run. But the thing that you want to do is make sure that you don't die with any regrets.
Where the hell's that?
You're good.
All right. Thank you for listening and watching to that. Happy birthday to my brother James. He was my brother. He was a drummer. He was a dreamer, and certainly taught me to go after my dreams and to, if you're ever going to go down, at least go down swinging, play your game. So if you're a person watching and listening and that resonates to you, then just get into the thing that you really want to get into and start being the architect and writer and director and hero of your own life, rather than be sitting on the sidelines, having the experience. I had this where it was like, a lot of people have an experience where they'll look at their life and start feeling like this is a weird dream. This isn't my life. I'm living some other life, like, or their dream life is all up here, but the reality of their life is a situation that they don't want to be in. So you have control over that. You have an ability to start making changes. You can make small changes. You can make massive changes, but those changes need to start in the present moment now. So go out there, live your dream, fight for what you want, say no to what you don't want. And you can start by registering for one of Tom Todoroff's master classes. That will help. We got that happening next week, July 12th. And you can also start by grabbing some tickets to Comedy Alley and come enjoy some joy in our weird, wacky alley every Friday and Saturday. So thank you guys for listening and watching. Make sure to smash the subscribe button. Share this out with your actor, creator, comedian friends, and share that message to people. If you know somebody that isn't living their dream right now and you know that they got that dream inside them, encourage them to fight for their dreams. And if you're a person who has those dreams inside you, just go get it. You actually don't need the encouragement of someone else. You just need to make the decision to go after what you want. So thank you for listening and for being here. And thank you, Brandon Knox, as well.
Thank you.
That's a wrap.
Joey Freddy.
We did it. Episode 147 in the can. All right.
In the can. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a fantastic week, and we will see you next Wednesday at 2 p.m.
Yes, next Wednesday, where we'll talk about Guideposts 11 through 15. And then later that night, we'll be on the Tom Todoroff Masterclass with you.
Yeah. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.